One of the main things that's been happening with films and games these days is the reviving of old classics by giving them a new and fresh appeal. And while that is pretty interesting, I do find it pretty risky when you take some of our old favourites and tamper with them. So with our next review, which rejuvenates the Transformers series, I'm really hoping they don't go all Michael Bay on it and make it a pretty decent game. So we're looking at Transformers War for Cybertron. From my childhood memories of watching cartoons comes Transformers War for Cybertron, where it takes us to the reason why the Transformers left their home planet. This third-person shooter from developers High Moon Studios and published by Activision is one of the better Transformers games to come out in recent years, and since its release in June of 2010, it's done a lot more honour to the franchise than those high-budget movies. So let's take a look. Set on the planet of Cybertron, where a galactic war wages between the Autobots and Decepticons, you'll have 12 missions of shooting and transforming. You can choose to be on either side, with the Decepticon missions prequeling the Autobots, and whilst it's serving as an origin story, you'll also learn a lot about the characters, like Optimus and how he became their leader. There's also a definite love of the source material here, as everything from the original voices from the TV shows and traditional character designs are very recognisable. Whilst it is a linear journey, you'll have a degree of choice throughout, whether it's choosing which side you're on, which character you want to be, or simply if you want to fight as a vehicle or robot, it's all a nice touch. The campaign is a good length, but although it is thoroughly enjoyable gameplay, it can be a little repetitive in some areas, and it's also a little constricting in parts.
This is almost too easy.
One of the things you'll notice early on is how brilliant the world of Cybertron looks. Everything has that robotic touch, as well as a very alien appeal to it. The backgrounds and the world around you is really a sight to behold, yet after a while you'll begin to feel like you've already seen it before. There are many similar settings, and the amount of colours is pretty few, with only oranges, purples, blacks and greys to see, yet other than that, it's a pretty good looking game. The characters themselves look sweet, and the transformations are complex and cool. Cutscenes are sparse, as you'll mainly be running through the levels and shooting, but the gun battles themselves are pretty fun to watch. Except for some things like enemies being destroyed, which can look a bit dull, and sometimes they just disappear. As mentioned before, Peter Cullen and the rest of the voices of Ratchet, Bumblebee, Ironheart and Air Raid, they're all back from the TV show, and they do a good job of fleshing out their characters. You also have the signature sounds of transformation, blasters, explosions, and cries of robots. Everything sounds futuristic and plentiful to make you feel like you're right at home in the Transformers universe. In the War for Cybertron, you'll have the choice to be one of 3 interchanging Transformers at the start of every mission. With cooperative play, you and 2 other buddies can tackle these missions, yet if you want to go it alone, the game's AI is no slouch either. Each character has different abilities, weapons and transformations, and they all have a unique feel to them. Much of the gameplay is spent running and shooting down enemy soldiers, yet you've also got areas of defending or fighting bosses, or areas where you transform into your vehicle and speed to your next objective. It can get a little repetitive, but the gameplay is pretty solid, as you'll have a range of attacks, like your secondary weapon, melee attack, special attack, or simply transform and deal out a whole different kind of punishment. The controls handle well, and for other Transformers enthusiasts such as myself, you'll have a ball battling your way through this. I would say that with all the abilities, the levels can be a bit constricting, and I would have liked to see a bigger arena with more avenues for destruction and other reasons to transform, but otherwise it's still pretty fun. The multiplayer is a smooth and enjoyable experience as well, as you create your own Transformer and do battle in a range of different match modes. I was surprised to see just how much I enjoyed this, especially racing up, jumping off a ramp, transforming in midair and then smashing a foe to bits. Awesome! Transformers War for Cybertron is a surprisingly fun game. It tells a great origin story and it captures the Transformers universe and world brilliantly. There's many references to the old TV show and little nods to old characters. There's a lot to love here, but it does get a little bit repetitive and the visuals can look the same after a bit. But anyway, it's easily the best Transformers game out there, and I give it an 8.62 out of 10.01.